never been so lonesome in my life as I am right now. I'm completely lost without you, Padme. I never realized I could even miss any one person so much. I just hope it won't be too much longer till I'm able to be with you again.
I wonder if your feelings on this matter are clear, Lord Vader.
I see the Padawan needs one last lesson.
I'd hoped to have a family of my own by now. But when the Queen asked me to serve as senator, I couldn't refuse her.
Anakin is the father, isn't he?
You're sweating. Relax. Take a deep breath.
I haven't seen her in 10 years, Master.
Annie? My goodness, you've grown.
Ain't you awful young and pretty to be a senator?
You've made a commitment to the Jedi Order, a commitment not easily broken.
We will find out who's trying to kill you, Padme. I promise you.
Another daring rescue, Master Jedi.
Senator?
We will not exceed our mandate, my young Padawan learner.
Anakin, this is my sister, Sola.
You know, Anakin, you're the first boyfriend my sister's ever brought home.
He's not my boyfriend. Anakin's a friend. We've known each other for years. Are you allowed to love? Thought that was forbidden for a Jedi.
Attachment is forbidden.
Son, come with me.
Possession is forbidden. Compassion, which I would define as unconditional love, essential to a Jedi's life. So you might say that we are encouraged to love.
You certainly have a unique way of looking at things, Annie.
Why haven't you told us about him?
What's there to talk about? He's just a boy.
A boy? Have you seen the way he looks at you?
Sola, stop it.
It's obvious he has feelings for you.
Anakin and I are friends. Our relationship is strictly professional.
It wouldn't have to be that way.
Anakin, I'm afraid.
We could keep it a secret. Don't be afraid.
It's all part of the job, my lady. You have a specialty?
You're making fun of me.
No, I'd be much too frightened to tease a senator.
I wish it could always be just like this.
Me too.
I thought that we had decided not to fall in love. That we would be forced to live a lie. And that it would destroy our lives.
I think our lives are about to be destroyed anyway.
It's not that we're not allowed to have these feelings, it's natural.
Senator Amidala and I are simply friends.
And friends you must remain. As a Jedi, it is essential you make the right choice, Anakin.
I'm going to help Obi-Wan. If you plan to protect me, you'll just have to come along.
I was beginning to wonder if you'd got my message. I retransmitted it just as you had requested, Master. Then we decided to come and rescue you. Good job. Just relax, concentrate. What about Padme? She seems to be on top of things.
There's nothing more important than the way I feel about you. Obi-Wan said to me, Anakin, this weapon is your life. This weapon is my life.
Put the ship down!
Wow, it's heavier than I thought.
Don't let your personal feelings get in the way!
It's yours.
He was a few years older than I. Very cute. Dreamy eyes.
Alright, I get the picture.
Whatever relationship develops between Clovis and Senator Amidala.
They have no relationship. It is simply business between them.
Clovis, no!
Get away from her!
Anakin, no! I don't know who's in there sometimes. You could have killed him, Anakin.
I know.
This marriage is not a marriage, Anakin. If there isn't any trust.
How long is it going to take for us to be honest with each other?
Other people who are married have everything that we don't. Everything that we won't. We live in secret, Anakin. Like it or not, our relationship is built on lies and deception.
The Emperor knew, as I did, if Anakin were to have any offspring, they would be a threat to him.
You don't know the power of the dark side. It is the only way you can save your wife from certain death.
What did you say?
Vader. Is the dark side stronger?
Things will be different, I promise.
You've only begun to discover your power.
I'm not afraid.
You will be. You will be.
I love you, Annie.
I love you too.
This baby will change our lives. I doubt the Queen will continue to allow me to serve in the Senate. And if the Council discovers you're the father, you'll be expelled.
I know.
I hope you at least told Padme I said hello.
Annie, I want to have our baby back home on Naboo. We can go to the lake country where no one will know, where we can be safe. No one's bothering you.
You die in childbirth.
And the baby?
I don't know.
It was only a dream.
I won't let this one become real. I won't lose you the way I lost my mother.
What have you done?
I killed them. I killed them all.
Lord Vader.
We don't have to run away anymore.
We can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy.
Suit your feelings, Father.
I've seen what such feelings can do to a fully trained Jedi Knight. To the best of us.
I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
It is too late for me, son.
My brother Anakin! Then my father is truly dead. I love you!
Our baby is a blessing.
Luke.
Luke.
Indeed you are powerful, as the Emperor has foreseen.
Are you a Jedi? I am. Like my father before me.
Where is Padme? Is she safe? Is she all right?
There's got a name.
It seems in your anger, you killed her.
I couldn't. She was alive. I felt it. Luke, help me take this mask off.
Sometimes there are things no one can fix. I know. There's...
You're right about me.
Father, stay with me, Mom.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. And we are live. And, welcome to the third podcast. We are going to be talking about love, the great, wondrous loves of Star Wars, but also just in general in cinema and theatrical arts. And, why all of that is so important to theater, to entertainment, and how it has its place in Star Wars. So we're going to start with, some introductions to the team. Let me to walk you through the topics. I'll introduce you to the team. I have not all, but I have 6 of our actors here, all of which have various degrees of intertwinement with each other. And so we will be introducing you to them one by one. Then we will talk about love in the theatrical arts, from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet to Macbeth to, what we see today and how all of that fits into Star Wars. We will then talk a little bit about Ben and Rey. Everyone's favorite couple, at least for the newer fans. But we will talk about, what makes them so unique, what makes them special, and, we'll also talk about why some fans don't connect with them and what we're trying to do to rectify that. And then we will talk about love at any age, from the very young love that you find as a teenager that tends to persist through the decades, and then you reunite with that person suddenly and all of those feelings come rushing right back to, finding love later in your life. And after you've had a husband that died and you've had children and you've had all of that, and you suddenly turn around and you find that your best friend is perfect for you. And we'll talk all about that because all of those stories exist in Star Wars. And I'm so happy to be able to bring some of those to you because some of those are lesser known. Then we'll talk about a Jedi and a Nightsister. My favorite genre, of course. I am in video games, so we'll talk a little bit about Kestis and Merrin, and I have one half of that team with us today, so we'll see his perspective on it. And then we'll talk a little bit about lore, and we'll really get into the lore of the Jedi and the lore of the Sith and how they view love and how they actually had very similar views on it. So we'll definitely talk about that, and we'll finish strong with some Q&A from everyone here. We'll answer some questions. We'll answer what we can, and we'll answer what time allows us to. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but yes, we will get to some Q&As. All right, so let's get started, guys. That's me. So I'm Maria Espino. I am the executive producer, director, and writer of the sequels, the after the sequels properties, not the sequels, but the after the sequels properties of episode 10, 11, and 12, as well as the showrunner for the TV series that we're doing called Star Wars In Between. And with me, I have 6 of our actors, which is great. I have an entire panel of actors. I love actors. They're my favorite people on earth. So I'm very happy to have them here. Please do welcome the very first one, the only, Madeleine Norton, who plays our wonderful Rey. Hi, Maddie.
Hello!
Yay, Mads!
Excited to be here.
The other half of her, of course, is the one that plays our lead actor in this franchise, in this post-franchise. And that is Daniel Davenport. Welcome, Daniel. He is our Ben Solo.
Hey, how you doing? Oh, this is so cool.
This is cool. And of course, with him, we have someone who I feel like is just all around one of the best folks I've ever met. Like, he's just great. I love him so much. And he happens to play a character that I really do adore. I love his character. And I felt like we needed a little more of his character. So please do welcome Tony Rescigno. And he plays Poe Dameron.
Hello.
Welcome, Tony.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
All right. And then I'm just going to go right into it. My 2 fellow New Yorkers are coming up. I am from New York. My husband's from New York. So we couldn't go without them. And they happen to play really interesting characters that a lot of people actually love from the original trilogy. And we're bringing them back into this After the Sequels program. Please welcome Donna Heffernan, who plays Norra Wexley. And with her and alongside her is her buddy. They actually have been friends for years, which is great to see them come together and to do this. Please welcome Charlie Wilson, who plays Wedge Antilles.
Hey, everybody. Yeah.
Wait,
her.
yes.
Well done.
Yes, there you go. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we welcome Kyle Bargoot, who is going to be playing 2 characters for us, which is kind of cool. And he plays both a Darth and a Jedi, so that's pretty interesting.
Dream come true, gotta tell you. Sith and Jedi, come on.
I know, right? Like, that's the dream, right? Hot dream, right? So he's going to be playing Darth Zanos for us for an episode 10 and, episode 11. And he is also going to be playing Cal Kestis for us, which is why he's here. Welcome, panel. How are you guys? I have missed your faces. I love working with all of you. It's so great. All right.
We love you too, Maria.
Absolutely.
So I've also had, we have all of your links that the moderators are going to be bringing up as you guys talk and you guys speak. So I have all of your links, integrated into Nightbot so that they can just pop those right back up for you so that we can get everybody's socials shared out and everybody's, followed and all that good stuff. Awesome. All right. Okay. So I think one of the things that I want to start with is I want to let each of you kind of talk a little bit about how you guys feel about the work that you've done with us, about our team in general, about all these beautiful people that you've gotten to work with. And I'll start with Maddie.
Oh my gosh. Yay. Working on the show has been so fantastic, not only because I'm a fan of the Star Wars franchise and have just grown up with it as a kid, but also as an actor and voice actor, just getting so excited about the animation process as well as the storyboarding process and seeing how the story was written. It was a fantastically collaborative process, hearing from everyone during the process of recording and rehearsals and whatnot. And so I really felt like I got to know everybody during this and got to know my character a little bit more, I hope. And I had such a blast recording for it. It kind of, I don't know, it's sort of been a dream this whole time. So I've had a great time.
Excellent, Maddie. And we love having you here. You have been just super, super stellar. And your work is absolutely fabulous. So, all right. And Dan, what about you? Tell us a little bit about you and how your work on this project.
A lot in the same boat as Maddie. I mean, going into it, I was obviously super excited. I grew up with Star Wars. The earliest memory I have of any movie ever is seeing the Star Destroyer fly overhead in episode 4, just as a tiny little youngin'. I was just hooked from that day on. So when I got the chance to do this, you can imagine I was ecstatic. Ben Solo, Cal&Merrin being my favorite part of the sequel trilogy. I mean, this is just a dream come true, right? So being able to hop in, meet all of you lovely, lovely people I consider a family, and being able to flesh out this character with my own kind of vision for it and everything, as much as I am emulating Adam Driver, as you kind of have to. I like being able to give my own spin on it. So it's just been a great time exploring that. It's exploring that kind of that balance of being expressive, but also being kind of conservative with his personality being a little bit more on the timid side at times. So it's been amazing.
Well, he does teeter between the light and the dark. And Tony, how about you?
I mean, I gotta say, for those who don't know, in the voiceover world, it can be very lonely. You're in a box by yourself, or if you go into a studio, you're alone, and then you leave, and then you don't hear back. So I'd say probably the most poignant thing I've really enjoyed about being on this team is that it really is a team, and Maria has made so many efforts to have us back for so many things, and just community events and being together and really fostering that team growth. And I think that's really awesome to get that.
Yeah. And what do you think about your role and taking on the monumental task of Poe Dameron?
Gosh, no, I've really enjoyed it. I think that my background I have in marching band has been such an important part of my life. So like having sort of that military aspect of like being, the team efforts and working with people and combined efforts. But then also having the artistic side and, getting to work with people has been really lovely. So it's been a great way to sort of channel that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Poe is, he's both a lover and a fighter.
Yeah.
Donna, what about you? Tell us what it's been like to be part of this team and working with us, and a little bit about your character.
I join everyone's sentiments in that it's been an absolute joy and honor working with such talent. I adore you, Maria. I love the fact that I'm playing a very strong feminine character. We don't have enough of that, and especially of a woman of a certain age.
Yes.
It's been a wonderful experience. I love being back with Charlie, who I won't give dates or years, but he and I have been working together for a very long time.
1890.
Yeah.
1890 something.
Yes.
What's your secret?
Thank God for filters on the
Exactly.
video. Yeah. I'm 180 in dog years. It's been wonderful. And I'm looking forward to the future and for more episodes and looking more towards the storyline of Norra and Wedge. Really interesting connections there, and of course brings out the most rich history of Star Wars, which I think people should, there's a look back to the strength of Princess Leia and how the Resistance began. It's very important, and I'm honored to be here.
Yes, and I mean, to honor Carrie Fisher, I mean, what a great. She's a legend, right? And so
Absolutely.
to be able to say, from my point of view, the reason why Norra and Wedge are here is to represent her and to represent her story, right? Because, unfortunately we lost her, but we also lost Princess Leia, and we also lost Han, and, within the sequels, and those two characters, Norra and Wedge become a way by which we can tell more about Leia and Han.
Absolutely.
Without them being here, right? So it was really, really important for me because I wanted to reframe Han, Han and Leia's interaction with their son, because a lot of folks don't really see, don't read the comics, don't read the books, don't read this, and they know very
it's
little
integral
about
to the backstory. Right, integral to the backstory, and to have a fuller depth and understanding of the relationship and how he, matured.
Yes. And Charlie, what about you? How's your interaction with us? And
I have to echo much of what has been said. I mean, the whole process has been so, I hate to throw around the word inclusive, but inclusive in the respect of everyone's valued. This is a group effort, and coming together with everyone and getting to know everyone little by little, because we are remote. It's very hard and was able to be done here. So I think that is just remarkable and been wonderful as far as the journey's been. And getting to play Wedge, this
he's so
iconic OG, character, who I didn't know a whole lot about except from the first films. And I'm really, like Donna said, anxious to see where he goes, where he and Norra go, because they, being originals and being representatives, as you said, Maria, of Leia, we represent that old guard, if you will.
Yes.
And we are truly the melding of the newer generation and the older guard. And so that's really what I love about this character, and he's got nowhere to go but up, and so I'm looking forward to more. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I love the story, and I just love the story of Wedge because in the legend side of the house, he has like a whole completely different story than he does in canon. But even the stuff that is in canon isn't well known about him either. And there's a lot of people who love Wedge Antilles as a character just because he's like your, top tier flight pilot, and he's just, the bomb.
He's a fetish.
Yes, he is, right? Yes, he is.
I'm fetishy, man. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I just love to be able to tell more about his story. And I love that they wrote, there is a book series called Aftermath in Star Wars that really tells the story of Norra and Wedge very deeply. And I love, I love how they come together, because they kind of are bonded by tragedy and loss, and a lot of stuff in Star Wars, a lot of the love stories in Star Wars are bounded together by that. So very cool. And Kyle, what about you? I mean, you get 2 different roles to play. So how do you feel about the team, and how do you feel about this process and your characters? I mean, you have an original Darth. We created this character for you, which, by the way, we're like in the process of creating his lightsaber sounds. How cool is that?
That was cool, getting to hear those like as they're being made.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this whole thing, I've been blown away by you guys. Like the team that you've put together, the professionalism. I mean, certainly the most professional casting call I've ever seen go across CCC. I have been cast in so many roles that just never even made it to a mic. Like when I saw this, I went, oh no, this team's serious. Like this is actually gonna get done. Like and sure enough, here we are. I mean,
yep.
I had a blast at the rap party that you hosted.
The that was great. Yes.
Kind of mystery stuff. Like that was so cool. And then even just the auditioning process itself. Like you guys were very thorough, and I actually auditioned for Tony's role up there,
yes,
Mr. Poe Dameron.
Yes.
But my Ponus was not up to snuff, so you came back at me and had the disappointing news. Oh, you're not going to be Poe Dameron, but I want you to be our new Sith and a Jedi. And I was like, oh, totally. I would have auditioned for that.
Wait a second. I didn't know this was on the table.
Like I am so, and then when it became that, it's a Zabrak and he's a Blade Master, like you have no idea. Back in 99, when Phantom Menace came out.
Did your mall alerts kind of tingle in the back?
Oh
right?
my god, yeah! Like like all my neighborhood friends, we were all geeks, and we
can
would
relate.
play lightsabers with wiffle bats and stuff. And then that year, my parents got me the Darth Maul lightsaber. And so you can imagine, I was Darth Maul for the whole neighborhood.
Oh my
that was. So now it's just kind of like I've come full circle. I love it. I can't wait to see how this thing shapes up, and even to just be Cal Kestis beyond that. I'm so excited.
Beyond that, yes. So, and I mean, Cal, he's very special, near and dear to me for various reasons. And so, no pressure, no pressure.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I tell Tyler, because Tyler Weston, who plays Anakin Skywalker, Anakin is my favorite character of all time. And I'm always like, no pressure, Tyler. And he's like, right? Yes. Yeah. So, and Dan, you are a Darth Maul aficionado, aren't you?
I'm obsessed. Yeah. He's my favorite character in canon for sure. Yeah. Just Sam Witwer just brought that character to life and just ace it in every capacity.
Yes.
Dave Filoni reviving it. It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. So super.
So cool. Kyle, we're gonna have to talk, man. We're gonna have to have a conversation.
Let's put our horns together.
It out a little bit.
This thing out.
That's right.
You can only do one.
Ben Solo and Darth Zanos.
We will have our revenge. Yes.
All right, guys. So let's move on and let's talk about our very first topic, which is, well, besides the introduction, is about the theatrical arts and love in the theatrical arts. And I love talking about this, and I love bringing this to everybody just because I feel like a lot of folks in Star Wars, they don't get to see like all of the inner workings of what it's like to put on a production like this or anything like that. But they don't also never get to really talk about, how story is created and what are like the values and ups and downs within a story and stuff like that. So I love bringing a little bit of that into that. So let's hear a little bit about that. A tale as old as time, noted by the greats like Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth, love continues to be a central element of theater. It dates back to the very inception of theater. Love was the driving factor for George Lucas for all of his Star Wars movies. Why do you think it's important to a good story? Who wants to chime in on that? Why do they think love is such an important element of a good story? Go ahead, Dan.
I'll take it. First thing that came to mind is the main thing about a story that everyone is going to cling to is its relatability. How do we relate to it as people? And the number one thing that we really need, I feel, to live is that aspect. It's love. That's the most relatable thing. We all feel that at some point in our lives. And so to have that in your story, people are immediately going to cling to that. They're immediately going to jump to that. They're going to say, hey, I either have this, or I want this, or I felt this at some point. And through that capacity, they immediately relate to that character and what they are going through. And that's why it's a fundamental aspect of pretty much any story that's told, whether it's platonic, romantic, the love of an idea. It can be incredibly abstract, and that allows for so many avenues and just a degree of versatility that you don't find with the majority of emotions that can be expressed throughout anything. Because I mean, love itself is incredibly versatile. Whether it's it can even just be akin to hate in many ways. There's a reason why red, the color of red, is both love and hate. You know what I mean?
Yes,
there's just so much versatility there, and I definitely think it's essential in the majority of stories that are being told, especially this one. So.
Yeah, and there are definite parallels in Star Wars, to stories that we have known throughout time. I mean, I think I was talking to Donna. I'll pick on Donna a little bit on this because we were talking about this a little bit. To some of the greatest stories ever told on the stage. What can we draw from those stories that you have brought into the portrayal of these characters? And I'm talking about like Shakespeare and the greats.
Right. Well, Shakespeare definitely had to put butts in the seats, so to speak, even though they stood.
They stood for theater.
Love has the ability to bring out the best in us and the worst in us. And Shakespeare totally understood that to make a very interesting story. You can't always have, everyone falls in love and the end. You have to have crisis. You have to have pain, sorrow. And in those elements, that is how, beyond the stage, that's how we grow as people. It's the pain and the sorrow and the suffering that we go through. And then I'm going to wink at my Wedge and then look at myself as Norra. Pain makes us or breaks us. And I think it's very important. And it was an important element in Shakespeare. It's dramatic. And it also can be comedic. It's very, very useful. And love makes the world go round. Just want to throw that out there.
And love is a through line, really, for
Absolutely.
everything, because it's hate is driven by it. Love is driven by it.
Absolutely.
It is the one constant in there.
Right. Or the lack thereof.
Or the lack thereof. And love needs to be addressed or used in one form or another to tell any story, I believe. Any story at all, even if it's about crime.
Yeah.
There's love.
Passion in general, I guess, would be the term. Wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right on.
And I mean, I think George Lucas really borrowed from all of those tropes and kind of just put them all together, shook them up, and said, "Here's Star Wars."
Well, that's what humanized this space world, because there was these human love, hate, all the things we feel, but in another galaxy.
They're archetypes for sure. Absolutely. And we talked about Romeo and Juliet, two gentlemen from Verona. Right. I mean, the storylines, you've got twins happening, you've got even in space.
And identities, things like that. Love to.
Tony, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just going to go off of what Charles was saying, is that it allows you to connect to something that's so foreign and alien, right? You've got this universe of all these planets and spaceships and aliens, but the emotions are still human, and you can connect to all that.
Yeah, even if it were like between two Borgs,
like in Star Trek.
Star Trek. Yeah. For those Trekkies out there, same thing. When you saw them connecting and relating as humans, you bought it. And because there was love on some level there. Anyway, right on. You're right, Tony. Agree.
Yep. And there's so many lessons in this franchise too about love. Like, I mean, talk about a cautionary tale, right? Anakin and Padme, right?
Absolutely.
And what happens there when, I mean, what is it that destroyed that relationship? Was it, the Jedi Order, or was it keeping it a secret, or was it, there's so many different things like you can borrow and go, oh, here's a lesson in that, and I may not want to repeat that. Right.
It's crazy too, because you think about these stories and how often some people have seen them or read them. Just like how some of us at varying ages like started watching Star Wars or reading Star Wars, and yet we'll come back to those stories over and over. When you're talking about Anakin and Padme, that's something I feel like you'll see edits of those. You'll hear people expound upon it and different ways that it could have been. And I mean, you see that with Shakespeare as well, and the fact that these were stories that were written so long ago, but there's still a way to be able to connect to them now, or like listen to them over and over and watch Midsummer Night's
Dream. Still relevant.
Yeah, they're eternal. Yeah.
They are. It makes us human. I think, being able to look at the folly of humanity, or maybe the fickleness or whatever, is always so entertaining, and connects to all of that, I guess.
Yeah.
And Lucas celebrates the circumstance of being human too. I mean, that's key.
Yeah.
He really does. I think that, for him, it was the thread. I keep saying this, and I say this, it's the thread. It's that common thread between all of his movies.
Yeah.
The love story, right? Whether it was Han and Leia, right, with the original trilogy, but all that stems from Anakin and Padme in the prequel trilogy.
Absolutely.
And it's like from that, I mean, if there hadn't been a Han and Leia, there would be no Ben Solo.
Absolutely.
Right. So
it's like what Donna said about this kind of being a crucible of change for these characters as well. That love can lift you up, it can tear you down, but either way, you're not going to come out the same way you went in.
That's
and look
right.
at Han Solo. He went from a scoundrel to a general of the rebellion, the New Republic, like this, and it was through that thread of love. It's huge in these stories.
I mean, there's always, the princess and the scoundrel. I mean, that is such a common trope in so many different, I can't name them right now, but so many different of our theatrical works, right? Like, the Heidi-Tooty, royal princess with, Aladdin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Aladdin, Rapunzel.
That was based on a story from even earlier.
Yes. Yes. So, there's
everything Disney.
And then, what are you guys drawing from when, when you're thinking about these characters and you're thinking about what they're feeling and what they're going through? Because I think any actor that really, embodies this. And I always say this because I know you guys have always heard me say this. I don't think voice actors are any different than physical actors. You just can't see them. That's the only difference, right?
We just don't have to move as much. Yeah.
Yes.
No. And the struggle is creating an audible reality. So their actor is an actor.
Yeah.
I do my own stunts.
Yeah. So
you have a face for radio. Yeah.
Yes. So I think in that sense, I mean, how do you guys draw from all those stories that you have either put on the stage yourselves or have been part of, if I read, or, stuff like that? What elements of those stories do you think that you'll bring into your own love stories here?
If we go back to Shakespeare, if we go back to Shakespeare and some classical training with theater, and I think I also said this to you, Maria, it's the script. If it's written well, it could take you down a road, it could take you down a path, and you find yourself within those words. And I think the script that you had provided for us was just extraordinary. I mean, I found Norra. I heard her. I didn't have to add anything. I didn't have to act. It was just there. It was in the beats, in the context. And then I just felt the words and I brought me to it. But it was the script for me, I must say.
I have to interject. I'm sorry, Donna, because we read that scene together.
Absolutely.
And I have to say, Donna is 100% on the money there, because I knew exactly how he felt about Norra, because I didn't know until really I read that scene. That was the first interaction that they had anything meaningful with one another.
Yeah.
And you saw the love, the frustration, in this little scene.
Yeah.
And it was in the writing. So it's not Hail Maria. Yes, so we're due for sure.
Yeah. The nuances, and to Charlie's point, the nuances also come from your acting skills. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
Well,
so the nuances come from who you are, but
that's where your technique comes in. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the script and the character arc are really what informs those nuances. It's what gives you the tools to really bring that out. And I feel like I have to say, and Catherine is in the chat. Catherine, our MVP, Catherine Newsom. She is our production assistant. She is also moving into writing assistant for the TV show. So yay,
fantastic.
She's double duty, right? Double duty. I forgot to put this one up there. But she will tell you. I mean, that scene that we wrote for Norra and Wedge, we were just absolutely. We love that scene. You guys did so amazing. We were
there was a tenderness that was so nice about it.
Yes.
And it was so evident that wasn't hard to come up with.
I can't wait to be able to do that scene and put that into, and have it be animated and have all of that put that into the TV
I would love that.
series.
Yeah, I love that scene.
That scene is great. It's a great scene. Yeah, for sure. Catherine and I were messaging back and forth. We were like, "This is so good."
If you didn't love Norra and Wedge before then, you will after this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So absolutely, for sure. Love that. So it was fantastic. And I mean, the same thing was with Maddie. Maddie's audition for us was just like, we were like, that's it. We were like, that's it. Like there was no one else that submitted for Norra, because you were just it from the start, Donna.
Oh, thank you.
We did have, and I pulled the numbers, and I know poor Dan's gonna be shocked here. But there were 72 submissions for Ben Solo.
Wow.
Yes.
Yep.
So, you
and
won.
Look who got
you
it.
won. Hashtag winning, right? 72.
Yeah, 1v72, not a big deal. Gal like me.
We're good here.
You're one of the 72.
And for Rey, we had 47 submissions, and so crazy that everybody really wanted to be Ben and Rey, number one. Right?
Of course.
But from the moment that we heard Maddie, we were just like, yeah. And then we had we really did have some great Ben Solos. Like, we really did have some people that auditioned for Ben Solo that were fantastic. But I think, for us, the chemistry between Madeleine and Dan was just, it was perfect. Like, I just remember like the messages, Catherine and I, Catherine's my right-hand person. So Catherine and I are just like, this is fantastic. This is so great. This is much better than the others. No offense, but sorry. So it was like, we nailed that. That was great. But I mean, it was a lot of submissions for those roles. Poe had 67 submissions.
Yeah.
67 submissions for
You beat me and 65 other people.
There's also a sense of
no bitterness. I love where I'm at. Just getting that clear.
Well, you get to play Cal Kestis. How can you not?
Yeah, I totally.
You get double the roles, Kyle.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, let's see. Zorii. There was 48 for Zorii.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that really wanted to, and not to mention, like, we not only submitted to the Cast and Call Club, we submitted to Backstage, we submitted to IMDb Pro, which is how we found Vincent Catalina. So there was a lot of submissions from all over that came in for that. So yes, it was great. I did want to pull those numbers because I just thought it was so great the way that we came to you guys. I just loved it. I mean, honestly, we were just blown away by the audition. So yes, we do, Catherine.
And I was also saying there's a sense of destiny too. I feel like certain people are meant to be in certain parts. There's like the doorway opens and they're just magically that person.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Oh, that's a great point, Kings. Yes, it was really about Anakin's mom, and them not fulfilling their, Qui-Gon's promise to go back for her, right? So.
Oh wow! Yeah,
yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, yes, Catherine, we sure did. All right, so let's talk a little bit. So now we're going to move into enemies to lovers. So the Ben and Rey story. Let's hear what we have to say about that. Rey did not expect Ben Solo to be underneath the mask that Kylo Ren wore, in more ways than one. Their immediate connection was undeniable, and it continued to expand and grow from there. What she finds in Kylo Ren is a mutual understanding of each other's loneliness. Why did this romance connect with so many fans in this day and age? And why did some fans reject it so vehemently?
Just kidding.
And we're back. And we're back.
Commercial break is over.
And so we talk about enemies to lovers. That is a quintessential love story trope, done a million times over, also drawn from, some great works in the past as well. So mostly, admittedly, I have some insight into that. Pride and Prejudice. So very big influence to the story of Ben and Rey. So, when we first find them, we find Rey, she's just alone, right? Like she really had absolutely no one. It was heartbreaking to me to see her, in her little, makeshift little house that she created out of an AT-AT, and you see how she's living, and she's got scavenging this old rebel helmet, and she puts it on, and she's just eating all by herself, and she's watching the spaceships kind of fly around, and she's just dreaming about being on a ship somewhere and being anywhere else but where she is, really. And you look around, her little house, and she's got a little flower that she, gives just enough water to keep it, but it's not really flourishing. I thought all of those things, and great shout out to the set decorators, right? They were fantastic in setting that scene. But Maddie, I mean, you of course did watch all of the sequel trilogy films. What was your first impression as a viewer and as a Star Wars fan of Rey?
Oh my gosh. First of all, it was really cool being able to see her there. I don't know. I immediately kind of fell in love with her character as soon as I saw her on screen. And then, I think there was something to the fact that you see this friendship blossoming between her and Finn, because you see both of them in these very solitary positions. Mm-hmm. And just the idea of this group kind of getting together, you sort of realize how lonely she was beforehand, and befriending, robots. You kind of think back with Luke Skywalker and things like that. Yeah. And even with Anakin. But oh gosh, I think getting to see her perspective of not knowing much about herself at all, and then seeing her kind of discover who she is through the Force and her friendships, and even her her back and forth enemy sort of status relationship with Kylo. She gets to not only make choices for herself finally, but she also develops opinions, and she becomes a better person through these instances. And I think, she was very relatable to me in that way. And I think that's what made her really likable, was you get to see her kind of molded into this Jedi that you can really admire as the films progress.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's I think the harkening back to how she started and how solitary she was, to then finding Finn, to then finding Han, and developing that connection with Han in the first in episode 7, and if you remember, there's this bit where Han kind of offers her a home with him, right?
And she's target practicing.
yes, and she's just no, she's really excited about it and she wants it. It's like she wants it, but she's like, no, I got to get back because my family's going to come looking for me. And she held on to that for so long. Like, she really held on to it. And I feel like it wasn't until Maz Kanata kind of came to her and said, they're never coming back. You know, your future is ahead of you, not behind you. And I think there was just such a great moment. I love the Rey and Maz moments in that film because it was just, you know, it was heartbreaking, but also like
it was kind of what she needed.
Enlightening, right? Yeah, it is what she needed. And it was so funny that she, you know, that whole thing came at a moment where she finds Luke's lightsaber and she goes into this like dream state, right? And she sees Kylo-Ren for the first time, like this masked character, and she, you know, and he sees her. That blew me away. It was like, okay, I thought we were just watching like her like vision, if you will, but then when he reacts to her and kind of like, you know, almost, and I want to say he saves her because some of the people that they're fighting were coming after her, and he kind of saves her. And I think a lot of people miss that. They miss that part, but it was like he does save her in episode 7 in that vision, and I feel like that was very, very poignant to her story and where the two of them would end up in episode 9, right?
He's got to be the only person to ever save a life through FaceTime. You know, like that's got to be a world record, right?
Yeah. No. And I mean, how and speaking of that, I mean, you know, how do you think Rey sees this version of Ben that we are now portraying?
I was thinking about that, where I was like, man, she really is like such a symbol of hope. I know that was like a big part of what they were trying to go for in the original, I guess, like sequels. And that kind of continues on. You see how it like never really falters for her. And even when she's dealing with sort of these new hardships, which we'll obviously get into when you watch the movie, she still has like this sense of hope and like faithfulness that's kind of unwavering. And, you know, in different circumstances and how that stands with Ben Solo, she kind of becomes this protector for like a small boy who, you know, like was going through it. And I don't know, it's cool because what is it? You see this connection of her character, and I think what they were trying to get across in the sequels, where she's not sacrificing any of her womanhood, any of her ability as a Jedi. Yeah. She's not sacrificing any part of herself. It's kind of, in a way, making her stronger. So I think that was also something I really liked when I was reading the script, and that's what I liked about their relationship with each other.
Yeah. And I think that was so evident in the second movie, you know, episode 8, where all he wants is her, right? Like that's all he wants is her, and he's like, you know, he's not thinking about her or what she wants, right? He's just, because he's a Sith, quote unquote. I mean, you know, basically for all intents and purposes, he's a Sith, and Sith are selfish, but he's not. I never thought that Kylo-Ren was completely taken to the dark, ever. Not once. Not once. So I think there was a piece of him that was kind of like coming back in that sense when he offers her his hand, like, take my hand, come with me and be my, like, basically be my queen.
Yeah, he's like so close. So close.
But you see her, right? And you see her, and you can see, like, what Daisy Ridley did in that moment was so amazing, because you can literally see her being the conflicted and torn, and because she wanted to take that hand. You could see it, like when she looks at it, she thinks at it, and she starts to cry. She never says no. Like she won't do it because she never wants to, like, you know, it's not in her ideals. It's not in her principles. She doesn't give that up for him. And I think that was really very, very well done. some of the best parts of Episode 8 were in fact the Kylo Ren and Rey story for me. I didn't like some of the other parts. That's not secret, but that's one part that I thought was done really well. And then, you know, I mean, Dan, what is that you think that made Kylo Ren like so interested or so intrigued? Aside from the obvious, right? But what do you think? What made him think? Like,
Ways I know are gorgeous, so there's obviously that.
Cool lightsaber.
Cool lightsaber.
Cool lightsaber.
Now,
cool lightsaber.
the main thing, I think it actually has a lot to do with what you said about how there's still that little bit of light in him. You know what I mean? And I think he both saw the solitary that Rey was experiencing, and he felt like related to that. But he also saw that she had that light, and I feel like a part of him really he wanted to crawl back to that. As much as he wanted to be edgy, brooding Sith Lord, I think he really wanted that light to be brought back into his life, and I think he probably saw Rey as like the vessel to achieve that.
Yeah.
There's that, and also like his disconnection from his mother. He didn't really have that female like affection and presence in his life, and he definitely had that desire. So to meet Rey and see this person that's going through something similar to him, just on the flip side, he's like, this is kind of my chance to claw my way back and get there through relatively organic means, as organic as someone as emotionally mature as Ben could achieve. Where it kind of became forced. I mean, I love that moment in Episode 8. You were talking about in the throne. He's like, join me. It's like he's this close. He's like, look, I killed Snoke. We could be together forever, but for evil.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it, Ben. We're this close.
This close.
It's like, oh, he was right there.
He channeled his grandfather in that moment, right? With Anakin and Padme.
Yeah.
You know, we can rule together, bring a new order to the galaxy. Right?
To Dan's point about seeking that light in Rey, I also see it as love, and we've come full circle. I mean, that's the desire to be loved, to be accepted, and to love another. Again, you know, what makes a great movie? A really, you know, a great love story.
I also feel like it was probably kind of hot to experience being you know, like having this experience, kind of underestimating her, and then getting his butt kind of kicked by her. I think that also was probably like a little eye-opening for him too.
I love it. I love the moment. There's a moment in Episode 7 when they're clashing swords, and he's got her almost pushed out of a cliff, and he's got her, and he says to her, "You need a teacher." You know, right? You need a teacher. I could show, and he's like, I could show you the ways of the Force. He didn't say, I can show you the ways of the dark side. He wasn't saying, it's almost like, I think it really lines up with what Dan is saying, where he's just seeking somebody to bring him out of darkness.
Yeah.
And I think Rey at first, maybe he didn't recognize that at first, but I think Rey recognized that later when they're in Episode 8 and they're doing the Force Skype calls, what I like to call Force Skype calls. Right? And she's, you know, because that first call, she's like, "You murderous snake." Right? And then in the last call, I mean, she's damn near like offering herself to him. You know, like, and darn that Luke. Right? Darn that Luke. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's almost like he just needs somebody to bring him out of the darkness, and only love can do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what do you guys think? I mean, the other folks here, what do you guys think about the whole Ben and Rey love story and all that kind of stuff? And you know, why is the Ben and Rey been like so polarizing? You know, for the fans, there's been so many of the new fans that are they just gravitate that. Is it a thing of this day and age? Like, I mean, we didn't have I've never seen anything like the Reylos. The Reylos are just hardcore, right?
Yeah. I have some friends that are like that.
I mean, what do you think? What do you think, Tony? What do you think that this resonates with the younger fans that we have?
Gosh, I think back to the relatability, maybe I think that we see this, how Kylo is on sort of this always on this edge of like, is he a Sith? Is he pursuing love? It's like he's savable, you know. And I think that's something that I don't know, it's a very human thing. Can I save this person? I can save him. I can save her, right?
I can fix them.
And I think it's a very popular thing among especially younger generations, you know. When we're younger, we sort of think that. I think when we get older, we F it, I'm not gonna, let me find somebody else.
We learn our lessons, right?
We learn our lessons. We don't have time for that anymore, right?
Yeah, you can't change someone.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We want to take a nap.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and we see that like literally with the mask, right? He's wearing this mask, you know, and I think that there's both literally and figuratively. And can we get to that, you know, what's underneath, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw what's underneath from the top half, Adam Driver,
Right.
and I think that had a lot to do with it. Thank you very much, Adam Driver.
That could have it.
That certainly didn't hurt, right? That didn't hurt. The Swolos, yes.
Swolos, yeah.
But and I think and I mean and then on the flip side of that, we have so many fans who like vehemently dislike Ben and Rey being together. Right? I could point to King's advisors. He's gonna tell you he just absolutely, yeah, like right? So I you know, they just don't like that. They didn't like that. They didn't resonate with that. And to the point where, like, you know, they're very against it. Why do you think that is? Like, on the flip side, do you think that it's just because the story overall of the sequels wasn't that great? Go ahead, Maddie.
I don't know why I started raising my hand. I know it's an open discussion. The teacher stuff is so ingrained in me. I think a big part of it is the redemptibility of Ben, or Kylo, I guess, in this sense. Yeah. I think part of it might be, you know, there's also like a whole big part that's sort of like strong, independent woman moment for Rey, being able to kind of like be her own strong self without connecting to somebody else or whatever. But I would go against that only in the fact that, like, what we've been seeing through the films, that like this whole big change for her is through her relationships with other people. Yes. And her realizing that she's not alone, and how she ends up helping other people with even the, I'm trying to remember which movie it was, where it was like, there's more of us out there, and there's like a little kid like alone in the corner.
Yes.
Oh my God, he's a Jedi too. The inclusive of that, I think, kind of maybe goes against that idea. But then, you know, the Kylo Ren's sort of comeuppance, or, you know, like having to pay for these sins, these acts of terror that he's incited.
I tend to think that maybe perhaps, you know, it was the I'm gonna say it. It's the murder of Han Solo.
Yeah.
You
right?
can't overlook it.
Yeah. That a lot of fans were like, just, I think, like, little boy, you need to die.
I personally, as a huge Han Solo fan, I wanted to see Ben in a hole after he did that to Han Solo.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It took a long time for me to come around to old Ben.
Watching it back again, you can kind of see where you see a lot more of the light side in him, I think, like really fighting with the dark side, or, you know, him deciding what to do. I think also because he has those spectators, because he ends up, you know, kind of seeing that like the others are watching. And then like what you said in one of our meetings, Maria, I think, was just the idea of like, as soon as something happened outside to distract his attention, he kind of, you know, what is it? It was such a fragile moment, because whatever he'd been enduring was such a like vulnerable small piece of him, that it wasn't strong enough, or like a strong enough voice to be able to like overpower what he'd already been experiencing for so many years.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the scene where like everything's like light, and I mean, you know, you can see that I swear, I really thought Ben Solo was going to give him that lightsaber and go with his dad.
Me too.
Kudos to Adam Driver, right? Because I'm like, yes, bring him home to his mommy. You know what I mean? That's all I wanted was like, bring him home to mommy, right? Like, he needs a hug. Right? And I could have sworn he was going to do that. And then it gets all dark and you see like the light, the sun is being consumed by the Star Killer base weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes all dark. And it was like in that moment, he was like, but I could I just, I don't know what was going through his head. What do you think, Dan? What do you think was going through his head? In that
moment, initially, he's seen this opportunity, right, to go with his father. His father's like, hey, come on, let's get out of here. Like, Snoke's going to drop you, bro. Like, the second he's done with you, you're getting dropped, man. I'm sorry, like a bad habit. It's game over. And he's going through it. He's like, could become sick. Could be dubbed have a dad again. Not bad. Hey, he's holding the lightsaber. He's like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And he's so locked in that moment, and the slightest little thing knocks him back out. He's like, no, I've spent like 5 years or more probably of my life at this point locked into this 7 years of my life locked into this Sith thing. I'm sorry, this is who I am. I can't back out now. And that's when it gets dark, and that's when the red kind of seeps into the frame. His face gets covered, and he's at this moment that you can see on his face. Adam Driver in this moment he's so vulnerable. And he's feeling it. You can see he looks so unsure. And then it creeps back in, and his face just goes dead. Mm-hmm. He just goes straight back to like monotone. And he's like, "No, I can't have this. This is who I am now, and I have to leave what I want behind. I have to embrace it exactly." Yeah.
And also the dance. Yeah, and the dance of the old lion and the new lion. Move on, move over.
Yeah.
Mm. You have to die.
That actually, Donna, that has a lot to do with it. And if you talk to Adam Driver. He states that he felt like in that moment he was going to go with his dad. Like he was like, this is how I thought of it. I'm going to go with my dad. I'm going to go back to my mother. I'm going to leave all of this behind because my dad is right. My dad is right. And he says, Adam says, but when the darkness kind of comes in, he thinks about, not just embracing the darkness, but like confirming his commitment. It's like if I do this, I will be getting rid of the last thread of light.
Absolutely.
And diving all the way in, and you see it in his performance, like right in that nuance where after Han Solo drops, and you're like, no, right, because Han Solo fans, right, like
absolutely,
Kyle.
Yeah.
Oh, that was brutal.
It was painful.
And you see his
and even
face.
the look on Han's face is like, you what? Like
and that last in that last bit where he like, Han kind of like just touches his son's face, and it's like that was heartbreaking for me. And then he
forgave him.
Yes. And he's like, what's up, Star Wars dog? One of my dear friends. Ah. And then you see, but then you see the turn immediately as Han Solo's dropping. You see his face, and he's just like, what did I just do? Right? What did I just do? Yeah. It was heartbreaking. That whole thing was heartbreaking. But yeah. So I we're gonna move on. Let's go and talk about love at any age. Thanks, guys.
Ooh.
From young teenage love that persists through decades to love that is suddenly found much later in life. It is a story that's been told time and time again in this franchise, often united by tragedy and loss. Perhaps it's not always been so obvious, but what makes Star Wars the perfect environment to tell such a story? Love at any age. I love that. And I write it here on the current topic. Love does give solace after tragedy, right? Like, I think
absolutely.
That's a big part of it. And so, we start talking about, I can't, talk about love at any age without talking about Norra and Wedge and their characters, because they have been friends for a long time. And they were both involved with the Rebel Alliance, leaders in some instances and became leaders of Rebel Alliance. And then on, when the Republic was formed, I mean, Wedge Antilles was the chancellor, if you will, of the Starlight Academy, which trained all of the Republic Navy pilots and all that kind of stuff. Right. And for Norra being an ace pilot herself, I mean, she's so capable, so independent, she's so strong, and she had this moment in her time where her husband Brenton was a prisoner of war, and she was like, I have to go get him.
Go find him.
She did not sit back and let anybody else try to find him or anything like that. She knew that wasn't going to happen. She was like, I got to roll up my sleeves. I got to get in there and I got to go get my husband. And, at the heartbreak of her son, right? Yeah. Because she had to leave her son, she had to leave her son behind with her sister and her sister's wife and in the planet of Akiva, their home planet. And, and go try to find, where could they have taken him, right? Because she felt so strongly about bringing him back to her child. Like, it was really for her kid. Everything she did was for Temin. It wasn't just that she loved Brenton and she wanted her husband back, but it was really just she wanted her son's father back.
Family unit.
Yeah, the family unit to be together.
Yeah, Norra's driven by purpose. Yes. I feel that she locks in on a golden truth, and that's it. She'll die for it. And I think that's her strength of her character, too. And I think that's what connects her so much with Wedge. I mean, I think only he could understand her as the years go on. Yeah. She has to be with a like-minded individual.
And we do. I think they do share same values.
Absolutely.
With their loyalties, with how they are about family. That's why he was so adoptive with Temin. Yes. And he was like his child, though a step. Yeah. Not in his eyes. Yes. So the loss, the
loss is felt on by both. Yeah.
Absolutely.
By both, but will bind them.
Yeah. And for those folks go ahead.
Come between them perhaps in some way.
And for those of you guys that may not know, when we talk about Norra Wexley, he has this nickname known Snap. Snap Wexley was a character in The Rise of Skywalker, and he was one of Poe's dearest friends. So Poe Dameron grew up with him, and Poe Dameron grew up with Norra and Wedge as his, who he looked up to, and Poe Dameron, watched his buddy Snap be killed in that battle over Exegol. So, tragedy all around in that sense, not just for Norra and Wedge, but for Poe as, one of his dearest and closest, right? And all, I mean, for Poe, it's every person that was lost in all the battles, Battle of Crate, the Battle of Exegol, for Poe, they're all his like he's really chosen the Resistance. I mean, he followed Leia from the Republic Navy to build the Resistance. And he really takes the Resistance as kind of like his pseudo family, like that. Those people are his brothers and sisters, right? So for him, it was also a very big loss. So for those of you that don't know, when we talk about Temin Wexley, that is Norra's son by her first husband, and a pivotal character in the sequels, but also just in general in the books and all that kind of stuff, specifically Aftermath, where we meet him at like 13, 14.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about why is finding love after that such a tragedy thing like this?
I think
I think that's an important point.
Well, I think because Norra and Wedge go through so much pain, you need to be with someone who understands the depth of that pain. Yeah. It's a language that they could navigate through. They could speak honestly and openly to one another, but I don't think they're bound by wounds. I think there's an absolute love. They grew up in love. They grew up in love for the democracy, for the resistance. That's what really binds
righteousness.
them.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they were driven by the cause.
And I think Norra is a little more maybe driven by anger than Wedge. Wedge kind of understands how, not that he understands more than, she's quite capable pilot, and he doesn't have really anything on Norra in terms of military talent, but he is apt to see things maybe a little further down the road than she is right now, than where she might be, and can help her bring her back, and in turn heal himself. Absolutely. He has a very big heart, I've come to learn. Yes. And very deep, thinker, and he's not your typical dude. He really is
he's very much
deep
a leader. Man. Yeah, and he's very much a leader, right? Yes. And he has, I think one of Wedge's best traits is he is able to think through a situation very quickly, but he thinks it through and he reacts with calm and collectiveness, right? He's not
a hothead. Yeah,
he's not a hothead, right?
No.
And he's very much in that moment, and he's very much also 5 moments ahead of it, right? Like, yeah, so he can see. And in our movie, there's so much connectivity that's going to develop with Wedge and Ben, and also Norra with Ben. Yeah. Because, primarily I want to say that 10, 11, and 12, and this is not news to anybody, is kind of the story of Ben Solo's atonement.
Yes, his atonement tour. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his atonement for all the atrocities that he may have not done all of them himself, but he sat back and let happen, right? Like the Hosnian cataclysm and all that kind of stuff. Like, you saw him just sitting there watching the bombs come through and just destroy those worlds, right? So I feel like for him, for Wedge, it's important to kind of see Ben come back. I think he also he has such a love for Han, and he has such a love for Leia. Both of them do. They served those people for a long time as part of the Rebel Alliance, and so I think there's a deep loyalty in Norra and Wedge.
Yeah.
But Norra's going through it. It's not very easy for her.
Yeah, Wedge right now is a little more apt to not cut him a break, but be more understanding of, well, he's come back. There is some light there. Whereas maybe in episode 10, Norra's just like, no, I want nothing to do with that mother.
Right. Yeah. But,
if I see him, I'll kill him. That's it.
Well, love and hate exist on the same frequency.
Back to that. There we are.
And I think there's, and Norra feels it right underneath her skin, especially in our scenes, Wedge.
Yeah. Well, it's still raw.
Yeah.
It's still raw.
She's a mother.
Yeah. She's a mother.
Oh, she's a mother. All right. No, I think
definitely a mother.
There's definitely a maternal aspect that makes you think of, I gave life and life ended, and it's a life that I created, as Norra. So I feel that she's very aware of that. So I don't think she could easily walk away.
No.
But she's definitely, for her, it's still very raw. Because,
absolutely.
Especially in episode 10, where we pick up, literally right after episode 9. So these events are just days,
Absolutely.
So she's still very, it's a bleeding
she's still green with it. Yeah.
It's a bleeding wound. It hasn't scabbed up. It hasn't, it hasn't been triaged. It's still bleeding wound. And I think, especially because Tammin, who in that timeline of at the end of episode 9, he's now much older and he's married, and he had a child coming. So I could say that. That's stupid. Norra is gonna be a grandma. She's gonna be a great grandma. I could just see it, because she's just such a someone you look up to. Anybody could look up to her in that sense. Yeah. All right, so let me see. I think one of the things that I also want to talk about when it comes to love at any age, I can't really, flipping it back down to like teenagers, right? So this is Poe. This is Poe Dameron, and I mean, Tony, you didn't know this story either, because of course it wasn't really. I mean, it wasn't really even delved in or touched upon. There was maybe a little hint of it in the Rise of Skywalker, but Poe had a torrid love affair with Zorii Bliss for several years. That started as a young teenager. He was 16 years old when he met her, and it was one of those things where it's like this first love, forever love kind of thing, where like it's just this torch that he's carried, and he, but in very similar to Rey, where like he may have loved Zorii, but he's not willing to give up his principles and like, his own ideals and what he wants for himself. I think that a lot of people totally miss that, right? Like, in Poe, like, we didn't get to see that part, like the parallels between Poe and Rey, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, so I think, so many people really just have no idea of the depths of the feelings that exist between Poe and Zorii, and how traumatic their separation was, their coming together was. It was surrounded, Zori's mom was not a good person.
Well, they were there for each other when no one else really was, right? I mean, they gave each other that space to see one another at that age when you need that as a young adult,
Yeah. And
their bond runs deep.
Yeah, they really do. And I think, why do you think Poe chose, like, because he left her in a fabulous book that everybody should read. It's called Poe Dameron, Free Fall. It's an actual novel that kind of details all of this history between them. But at the end of that novel, I'm gonna spoil it a bit. At the end of that novel, I have to. But at the end of that novel, Poe chooses to go and join the Republic Navy, and he makes that choice, and he kind of he says, "Come with me."
Yeah.
Why do you think he chose that when Zorii says, "No, I can't. This is my life here. I can't," and he still goes. Why do you think he chose to go?
Well, I think he has those morals that were in conflict, and I think at that age, like you could ask any other day, and he might have decided to stay.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of the like high schoolers that are getting accepted into different colleges, and it's like, do I go to the academically? What's the better decision, or where I feel emotionally?
Emotions. Yeah.
And who knows? Time of day could have changed that answer, but I think that he had very deep moral ties, and being around that criminal world just wasn't for him. I think she was the reason why he was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't the other thing.
Yeah.
And I think at some point it just maybe was overbearing, and he needed that structure. He needed that environment where he could grow.
And I think a lot of it just has to. I mean, he comes from absolute heroes in the Rebel Alliance. His father, which served with Norra and Wedge, Kestis Dameron, and also his mother Shara Bay, who was an ace A-wing pilot. So they served together. He comes from that, right? And I think there's a lot of influence, and it speaks a little bit about. I want to say that it speaks to the fact that your children kind of they kind of do what you do, right? They look at that, and they're in some ways or another want to be like their mom and dad, right? Like and so I think that was a strong pull for Poe as well.
Right. Sure.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, from your from Poe's point of view, why did Zorii believe she could never be good enough to be with a Navy pilot? Why do you think she believed that?
Gosh, from Poe's point of view, I don't know. I mean, Gosh, I think that there was probably a lot of frustration from his point of view. Why it's such an obvious, why would you rather come do good things as opposed to bad things?
Yeah. It seems
but
like
I
a
think
no-brainer to him, right?
from his point of view, yeah. But I think that we all know our insecurities better than anyone, and I think that there's probably a lot of judgment from Poe on Zori's side, or at least imagining, that there would be judgment. I'm not worthy to be. I'm. This is my world. I'm a spice runner. How could I be around people who enforce the law? Which that he wasn't, saying things like that to my knowledge. But
no, he wasn't. Right. Yeah.
So
it's Zori's own self-doubt, right? Like her own insecurities, I think. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like,
which we all experience.
We all do, right? Like, so we all have insecurities about ourselves. We all have insecurities about being with someone. Are they right? Are they right for us? Are they going to treat us well? Are they going to, are they going to like support us through, what we choose as our careers? I mean, this is all relatable stuff. I mean, raise your hand if you've been in this once or twice in your life in that kind of situation, right? Yes. So that's always like, but what do you think, why do you think Poe finally decides, like, towards the end of 9 and as we move into 10, we clearly see that he still holds that torch for her. And it's never gone away, right? Like, and why do you think he still has that? He still has that, like, that's the girl that got, or like, that's the one that got away, or
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to what I mentioned earlier, that they were the only ones giving each other that spotlight at that time, because Poe's parents went around where his mother died early and his dad was in depression, and and Zori's mom just wanted her to be the replacement, take over my
Ziva 2.0, right? Yeah. Yeah.
They were the only people seeing each other and giving each other that space to have their own identity. And so I think that after stepping away and having time to grow in their respective fields, or at least Poe joining the military and being able to come back now with a clearer mind and not being so, having time to heal, from his loss.
Yes.
Right. Parents.
Yes.
So.
And Thomas Bartholomew, he says, Poe Dameron was the most interesting character I found in The Force Awakens. I just wanted more of him. So guess what? You get more of Poe, more of his story, right? Here we go. So, and we get deep with him, like he's now a general. And I think one thing that is very clear that I wanted when I wrote him, was for him to be accepting of the fact that he is both General Dameron and Zori's, and also a man on his own that has feelings and loves someone. And, I think, for a long time, Poe might have just seen, it's either this or that.
Yeah, sure.
And when I was writing that story, I wanted folks to get the impression that he is making the decision that he can be both, right?
I love that Zori challenges him on that, constantly. You're not there for me, where were you, blah blah blah. And he, it's just it's not that one is more at the fault than the other. They were both going through their own stuff.
Yes. Maddie and Dan in the comments, just as always. It's just so connected. They're always like talking about it.
That's the behind the scenes version.
Yes, Poe and Finn. Yeah, we wanted some of that. Dan. Yes, more of Poe. Absolutely.
The bloopers, maybe.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, we have so many, for sure.
The director's cut.
I love it. Yeah. Tom agrees. He's like, I liked Poe as well. I thought they could have delved more into his background, or his backstory, or even given him a bigger part. I agree. And Oscar Isaac. I mean, I love Oscar. So great. Right. So great. Yeah. Just the little nuances that he brought to that was just really, really amazing.
Great actor.
Yeah, he is. He's an incredible actor. He really is. And I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to see Moon Knight, the TV series from Marvel. He was fantastic in that. I mean, talk about having the acting chops to play someone with multiple personality disorder. Like that's that's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy stuff. So you really gotta bring it in there. But I just love his story. I think that we do him the service of expanding him without diminishing him, right? Without having to say, oh, we're gonna take Poe down to raise Zorii up, or like I don't want to get into that too much, but it's like, oh, it's woke kind of thing. No, we elevate Poe. And because we elevate Poe, Zorii follows, right? And and she eventually makes that decision to she's gonna do right? She's gonna change her ways and do right. So, did we lose Dan? We lost Dan.
Apologies, someone stepped in. I had to turn on the camera for a second.
No problem.
Was it Zorii?
Slight interruption.
Sorry.
I'm not currently at gunpoint, so not Zorii.
Like, wait, what? No, not my man. I love that.
I'm stirring the pot.
She's stirring the pot.
Troublemaker.
The sequel trilogy wasted Poe and Finn, two interesting characters that were shoved aside for nothing. I agree with that, Kings. It's one of the reasons why I've really dove into Poe and dove into Finn, and I've said this before, I fully intend to make Finn a Jedi. Like, I felt like that's where we were going to go with him, and I never understood why we didn't. Right?
Yeah, from the moment he picked up that lightsaber, it was like, okay, here we go.
Yes,
like, this is the start.
Here we go, right? And especially, in the way that J.J. Abrams set him up in 7, it was so great, just with the lightsaber, and when Ben is like, that lightsaber belongs to me, and he's just like, oh yeah, come get it. Right? I was just like, yeah, right. That was so great. Yes, like
that was one of my favorite parts. First watching it, I was so excited because Finn is my favorite character.
Finn is your favorite. Aww, Finn is your favorite character. Yeah, Finn is a great character.
I felt bad because I feel like the blowback from him and Rose in 8 is why he was basically like not even in 9. Like he was just so shoved to the side, and she was in 3 seconds of the movie or something.
3 seconds, and it was like.
Sad.
And it was like we left them where we were wondering if they were going to be a couple, if they were going to get together, or whatever the case may be. And then it was like, okay, where did that go? Did that also get dropped?
Yeah, gone.
Right along with Snoke's corpse? I mean,
right? Stormtrooper turned Jedi is such an amazing concept.
I think that's so great.
And they just dropped the ball.
They really did. Yeah. And you have Kings. You have a lot of people who agree with you on that. In our cast, I mean, that's the great thing about us as a cast, right? Like we have nearly 40 people in here, and everybody has. They come from. We have sequel haters to sequel absolute lovers, and everybody in between. We have people who don't like the prequels, which I never understand that. Like I can't. But
do we? Jar Jar fans? Or
I know them.
Jar Jar haters.
Right? But we can just all come to. I think the most beautiful part about it is we just all come together and chat about Star Wars, and we're so positive in it and united, and I love that. Yeah, for sure. I loved Rose, and again, another character who could have done more. Absolutely, I felt Kelly, and can we say poor Cal&Merrin? She really got the bad side of this fandom thrown at her. Not all of us are like that, absolutely.
I think she spoke about it a little bit too. Like it became such a thing. She had to speak out about it.
Yeah.
And she shut down her socials and stuff for a while. It was really sad.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. Wow. And I mean, Daisy Ridley got some of that too. She had to shut down her Instagram for a bit. With some of that backlash that was thrown at her,
I mean, to criticize the story and the writing of the characters is one thing, but it was so much racism and sexism, and it was disgusting. Like, don't even. And a lot of the time, it's exactly that. Even if the actors did a fine job, if they didn't like the characters writing in the story, they come after the actor for it.
I mean, you know, an actor
It's unreal.
Yeah.
And you know, an actor is just a vehicle by which a storyteller tells their story. So if you have great lines, a great character arc, and all that good stuff, guess what? The people are going to love your portrayal. But if you don't have those foundations, which, to be honest with you, in a lot of parts of the sequel trilogy, these actors didn't have a lot to work with. And so they did the best that they could. So I think that was something. But I want to know more about Poe, and I want to know more about Finn, and I want to know. You know, Rose gets a little. She's just a little part of episode 10, but she gets expanded way more into episode 11. We see her, you know, really rise and you know, take the reins. So we can't wait to see that. All right, guys. Well, let's talk about a Jedi and a Nightsister together again. A Jedi falls in love with a redeemed Darksider. Sound familiar? Video games have been the playground for this type of story. In the Knights of the Old Republic video game, we see Bastilla Shan, that's for you, Kings, fall in love with Darth Revan. And history repeats itself in the Jedi video game series, recently confirmed in its sequel, Jedi Survivor. Why do opposites attract? And why is it that video games most often showcase that trope so well? All right, Kyle.
Yeah.
So what do you think? I mean, you know, did you get to see like the full story of Jedi Survivor and stuff like that?
I did, yeah. I'd only played through Fallen Order, but I'm glad you sent me those, like, kind of the game,
movies,
the movie
the
links.
game movies, yeah.
Just wow. I mean, I love seeing their relationship develop because, I mean, there were so much enemies. I mean, she tried to kill him a few times when they first met,
to
right?
Lovers, right? Yeah, enemies to lovers.
Yeah, I mean, this was, oh my God. Yeah, they've come a long way in Survivor. And the one thing I noticed with the title you had up there, Darksider, like I mean, I don't think she was ever like. Are they all considered Darksiders? The Nightsisters there?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Not
They are
Sith necessarily,
just
but they're considered
misunderstood.
Darksiders.
Yeah,
That's understood.
They're not Sith, right? They're not Sith.
Right.
But they use the dark side to fuel their magic. So yeah, they're proficient in the dark side. It's
because especially even when she does that whole, like, when you fight one of us, you fight all of us, and then brings back all the dead. I mean, that's definitely not good. But I didn't know if like she was really considered evil.
Not good. No, she's definitely a Darksider, and I think, I think that and Kings is gonna kill me because I always say Bastilla, and he's like, or I always say Bastilla Shan. That's how I say it, and he always gets on me about it's Bastilla, it's Bastilla. I'm like, listen, it's Bastilla. Okay. So we get into it. But Darth Revan and Bastilla were like, one of the first ones that kind of had that they are in fact the first dyad. So yes, Darth Revan and Bastilla Shan are the first dyad. So when Emperor Palpatine says hasn't been seen in generations, he means them. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that and guys, if there's you that don't know, I had a tiny bit of to do with the Jedi series. I've been in the video game industry for a long time, and I have all kinds of connections into that world. So I think one of the things that we were looking for was, everybody loves Darth Revan. He is a favorite, okay, of a lot of fans. And I think generally the Old Republic as a whole is like the part of the fandom that most people can really agree on, even though the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, there's so many like naysayers and yaysayers and all that kind of stuff on that. But most of those groups can agree, But the Old Republic, though, right? They're just very, those stories are just, tried and true. And I think, when we set out to do Jedi in the Jedi series, we really wanted to harken back to Knights of the Old Republic and the story of Darth Revan and Bastilla Shan. And I want to say Cal Kestis and Merrin, they kind of mirror that a little bit,
I can see that.
Kind of opposites, right? Where Bastilla was the Jedi,
right,
and Cal is the Jedi. So like the gender swapping kind of situation there, but yeah, Nightsisters are typically, they're 100% Darksider, but they're not. They don't do good. They're not typically good. And I think one of the things that I loved about Merrin was just that, she still utilizes all her abilities, but she does it for good. Now,
well, yeah, like when she cloaked the mantis, that was cool. That was a great use of her power there.
Magic, yeah.
But I feel like in terms of like a dyad, they're getting there, but it's like maybe that's in the next one or something because it's they're connected and they're starting to use their powers together, but I don't think it's anywhere as close as what like Ben and Rey have. Like they're still building trust throughout even that sequel game, and that was kind of one of like the key points of it. Even that the scene where they fight that giant crab robot or whatever in the canyon, and she's asking him to go through this green swirling portal that she just made, and he's like, she says, just trust me. He's like, okay.
And she's like, she's like, do you trust me? And he's like,
right.
You see him
I
take
don't
a
know.
moment, right?
We're not quite there yet.
He takes a moment. He's like, but then he's like, yes. And then she kisses him. And it's like, we're like, yay! We all love the love story there, right? And it's a great thing. I think one of the things that is exciting about the possibility of what is happening between Cal Kestis and Merrin, to me as a storyteller, is how much when we do bring them into the story, they're much older. Right, just because that the timelines align, right, in that sense. You have to understand that Cal Kestis is 13 years older than Luke. So, Kyle's like, wait, yeah?
I didn't even know. I didn't even put that, the timeline.
Yeah. He was, Luke was born right at Order 66, and right at Order 66, Cal was 13. Right. So, he's, he comes in. When he comes in as Grandmaster Jedi Cal Kestis, like probably one of the few that's still alive from that time.
Yeah, because how far after or how long after Survivor is this? This has been like 40 years or something by the time he's in this.
By the time he's in this, Jedi Survivor is about I want to say it's 9 or 10 years after Order 66, where Fallen Order was 5 years after Order 66. Because Cal was like 19, 20-ish in Fallen Order, and now he's like 24, 25 in Survivor. So he's coming, into our story as someone with a formidable amount of talent with the Force and, that kind of stuff. And with his own children, right? And having Kata Akuna as like, she becomes kind of the. I'm about to spoil it for everybody. I know if you have not played it. If you have not played it, but I know Kyle. Sorry, Kyle did see the movie, right? So like, so he kind of has like a pseudo adopted daughter. But I think one of the interesting things there is just how much Ben and Rey are going to draw upon the experience that Cal Kestis has with, with Merrin, and the experience that he has in building that together, and still being a Jedi all of this time, yet still being very, very much a husband and father now, which is where, Ben is going, right? So how much of that journey they can draw from Cal and Merrin is going to be really interesting.
Right.
And that's what's some of the parallels. What's interesting to me with Cal and Merrin is how she, like you've said, comes from like a dark side kind of perspective of this thing, and yet in their relationship, Cal keeps finding himself being drawn to the darkness. Like whenever things are going horribly, he can kind of tap into that and like give in to the darkness and get this power. But it's always her that keeps bringing him back, that keeps him from going over the edge. And that, to me, it just blows me away that someone that had this kind of dark past is his light. You know, that's, I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really an important characteristic of them two, and an important parallel between Ben and Rey and Cal&Merrin, right? I mean, they don't become a dyad because dyads are kind of born that way, right? So basically, what happened with Ben and Rey, like in story, in canon, is when Ben fell to the dark side, the Force answered that by birthing Rey, with Rey's birth. And so they were connected intrinsically from her birth onward. So there's like a cosmic element to that. So Cal and Merrin don't have that. So I want to say that they function, but they function more like a pseudo dyad, if that's a thing. You know, where when they fight together, I mean, you see it in Survivor, when they fight together, they really like play off of each other's strengths, and it's really amazing to see that. Yeah, for sure.
And even combining Force abilities, like that was so cool when she's pulling up all the, I don't know if it was pieces of a machine or the rock or whatever, and holds them in place with her energy, and then he just Force pushes the whole mass. Like that was like, yes.
That was really cool. That was really cool.
Yeah, I love seeing those little combo fusion moves.
Their power and and just think about what that looks like in Jedi Survivor, where they're 24 and 25, right? What that power will look like when we step into our episode 11. Right. Imagine like the level up that's going to have over that time. And just imagine, I mean, what do you think they will have to teach Ben and Rey at that point?
With each other, I mean, it's patience and understanding, and I mean, they've both been through a lot, like, and even Ben and Rey, clearly, like with Cal and Merrin, it's like they've lost everyone, you know, whether it was the Jedi Order or the Nightsisters, they've been through so much trauma and tragedy, and there are gonna be things that happen, things that each other say or do that could trigger that and bring that back. And it's like, how do you mend that? How do you kind of work through that with each other? And I think that by this point, you know, 40, 50 years on, they'll have had plenty of experience with that, and they're going to be able to help them find ways to work together, to compromise on things, to find solutions that involve both of them as opposed to one of them just running headlong into something, you know. I think that's going to be invaluable to Ben and Rey going forward, just finding a way to work together and with others on top of that, because we're going to have this whole new Jedi Order, and, you know, I just can't wait. And the power, oh my goodness. Look at them in their 20s. I mean, like this, like to think of them as in their 60s or 70s, like how effortless it was for Yoda to lift an X-Wing out of a swamp, right? Like that kind of increase in power with both of them. I just can't wait to see how it plays out.
It's exponential.
Yeah. And it builds upon itself, right? Because you have so much trial and error, right? It's not like, and I think I love that about Cal in Jedi Survivor, because there were instances where like you could see him falling to those dark side tendencies, and he has to like check himself. That's something that he can then now take forward. He's like, I know how to pull myself back out. And I feel like Ben, and even more so the little Solo children, will need those lessons, right? So all right, so I think that's we're gonna move on to our last topic before we open it up to a few questions to answer, and we'll talk a little bit about the lore of Star Wars, and how the Sith and the Jedi view love, and how amazingly equal their views were, which is crazy. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The Jedi Order forbade their members from forming attachments. Many believe that includes love. The most notorious of cautionary tales was Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, which led to the creation of Darth Vader. For the Sith, love is an inconvenience, seen as a weakness. But the passion shared can also be a level up, so there is a balance that must be learned. But why is it that so many Jedi and Sith can't comply with the rules? Like, the rules are set in stone, and it seems to never be able to follow it, right? Right?
Human nature to break the rules.
Yeah, it's like the Jedi Order is like, you cannot have attachments, and then the Sith Order is like, you cannot fall into selflessness, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, those are the rules, but they seem to like never adhere to the rules. What's going on?
Yeah.
It's almost like they're human.
It's almost like they're human. Just about.
What? We can't make them robots? Oh no.
Yeah.
We can try.
Right? But yeah, I mean, one of the things that is key in the lore of Star Wars about it, the rules are meant to be broken, Catherine. Yes, they are. I mean, some rules. Let's not go too far down that. No, let's not pull ourselves into the dark side that far. But you know, the Sith, you know, they view love as a point of weakness. So if a Sith Lord falls in love, like Revan, right? Then they can be manipulated, and they can be, used for bad, if you will, or whatever. It could be used against them. And the other thing that the Sith is, you know, the Sith, their principles are really centered around their selfishness, right? They want more power. They want to, what is the number one rule of the one desire of all Sith is to kill their master. I mean, when they set out to create, like, for example, Darth Bane, who created the rule of two, what he set out with that was, a master to hold the power and an apprentice to crave it. Just to set them on this path of, like, rivalry right from the start, And so for the Sith, if they deviate from that, they, to love someone is to give them a part of yourself. You giving them your time, your care, your this, your that, right? And you're not thinking of yourself anymore at that point, and that gets in the way for the Sith. So the Sith pretty much, I wouldn't say that they forbid love. They just they guide their people to use love as a weapon, and it's really more about the passion. So, not to get too, but it's the sex. It's the sex.
Isn't it always?
I was gonna say, as it often is.
As it often is they utilize this relationships as a way, like, okay, I have a common goal with you, and we can unite in that common goal. But once we attain it, I'm gonna squash you, right? Like, it's very much it's very much like that. It's not so balanced or emotional. They're not afraid to take.
They're not sentimental.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not
It's
sentimental.
And it's not born of altruism. So
no. It's born of power and the question of power. Right. So for the Sith, that's
and
really
domination.
their lore. But they really do not have rules like the Jedi Order that say that prohibit them from falling in love. It's just they don't, because it's just not part of their nature, right? Whereas if we look at the Jedi Order has very strict rules in that sense.
Right.
And I think one of the things that is very evident. I mean, in the prequels, right, we learn that attachments are forbidden, but do they really mean love too, or is it just like the not falling into this precipice where you put the person you love before the lives of others, right? Like, which you can go down that path. But the Jedi Order was very much steeped in this very dogmatic view. George Lucas wrote the Jedi to equate to religious zealots.
That's what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was a Buddhist influence too, wasn't there, with Lucas?
Yes, there was. Yes,
and in that faith, you can't.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He wanted a reflection of all the religions of the world in the Jedi, because and he made that very specific because he wanted to teach his viewers a lesson through and specifically in the prequels, right? Because he wanted to teach them lessons like you can't just dogmatically follow something, because that's just not the way the world works. So like if you think back to, I always think back to Attack of the Clones, the elevator ride with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin, and Anakin's all like, he's all like nervous. He's gonna go see Padme. He's like, oh, do I look okay? Am I right? And Obi-Wan's like, would you chill out, dude? Right? Right? And I always think to that, and I'm like, how could Obi-Wan have not known? Like, there's just no way, right? That Obi-Wan could not have known that this young man obviously had an infatuation with this girl. And, and he's like, he turns around and he says, I haven't seen her in 10 years, Master. And he's still holding the torch, like, hello.
Clone Wars Season 7 all but confirms that he knew, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's countless signs, but Clone Wars Season 7, he just straight was like, be careful,
Tell
bro.
Padme I said hello.
Tell Padme I said hello. Yeah, exactly. He's
like,
tell her I said hello there. Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love how sly he is. It's great. Oh, that makes me want to talk about him and Satine.
Oh yes.
Oh.
I mean, Obi-Wan himself fell in love. I mean, a lot of people, especially if you've not seen the Clone Wars, you don't know that, right? But Obi-Wan Kenobi had a very passionate feelings for the ruler of Mandalore, who was beautiful. I mean, I can't wait till Cate Blanchett. I can't wait till Cate Blanchett steps into the role of Satine. I'm dying for that. One day. One day.
Be beautiful.
Give me Ian McGregor and Cate Blanchett, right? Like I all day. But yeah. Some even said Baby Yoda is Yoda and Yaddle's secret offspring. Yes, that's all. That's been the rumor for a while. That Grogu. I love that Dan can do that.
Yaddle and I, we got down.
Yes.
There's something wrong about that.
There is something wrong about that. I can't think of
Strong with the Force I am.
Oh Lord.
I do like though that I guess with what we were talking about with George Lucas, just this idea that you need to like kind of challenge things with your own morals and ask questions about things and maybe be able to maybe look at it in a more political way of just being able to like make changes for something that has been like set in stone for so long, when like new ideas arise or general consensus kind of feels another way, just different stuff like that. I think is kind of cool in that even something that can seem like straightforward and most good, like the Jedi and them fighting for people, like there can still be like flaws in it and things that can that deserve to be changed. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, George Lucas, I mean, obviously he's a genius, but I just love that he kind of set all of these like little lessons for everybody in a world that would attract children, right?
Yeah. Nice.
How genius is that like, let me tell the kids these lessons and have those be part of the foundation of them growing up. That's the dream, man.
It's supposed to be set like, long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like fables.
Galaxy far, far away. All right. Let's take some questions from everybody. Let's see if anybody has any questions. So I'm going to open that up, guys. Type in your questions in the chat, and we'll try to answer them. Some questions may be behind NDAs, so not all questions can be answered, or we may just simply run out of time today. If so, drop your questions in the comments.
Jesus.
Woo! Yes, I am. We're out here in Phoenix, man. We had record temperatures the other day. I think it was like
118.
118. Yes, that's right.
118. No, it was front page news here.
Front page
not
news.
compatible with that heat.
Yeah, but in on July, I think it was July 4th. But that was a record, Norra. That was a record, Norra.
No, it's quite all right. And I'll answer to it.
Right? But that was a record for the day. Like it was a record, like the hottest of that day in history. Okay. But the one like July 4th, bro, we were 123.
Wow.
No, was it 123? I think it was higher than that. I mean, people were cooking eggs on the street.
And you had like 19 days of straight, triple digits.
Yes.
Asphalt would melt your sneakers.
I saw a guy driving around on his antenna. He had 3 hot dogs, and they were cooking. They were actually plumping up and getting brown. I couldn't believe it.
Where is this, Charles? Where do you live?
Somewhere, either Arizona or.
I thought you were making that up.
No, for real. It was.
That's wild.
What was pumping up?
It was on Instagram.
Yeah.
It was on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
And they were really cooking. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow.
They were really cooking.
Glad I'm not there.
Exactly. All right, so we have So we have a question from Tom, Maria, and guess how many times have any of you almost spoiled the movie? I'm the worst. I am the worst of them
I almost
all.
did. I was like, I had to hold back a little bit.
This sounds like an NDA minefield question. I don't know.
Tread carefully.
Yeah.
Love interest. Not much. Yeah, I don't know.
Not much. We spoil other things, Tom. If you haven't played Jedi Survivor, this is not the podcast for you. These are not the podcasts you're looking for.
Yeah. Especially that question about Kata. I noticed you skipped after that. I was like,
I know. I was like, oh, I gotta pull back on that. I'm terrible, guys. Okay, because Ben gets to have mental force visions about his little Jedi love interest. I love that. Yep. Ben.
Oh, that's a good question right there.
That's an answer to you. Yes.
Yeah. No, I like that one. Actually, can we circle back? Who is the best character and why is it Ben? Great question.
So glad you asked. Absolutely great.
Ask that.
I wonder.
Some random. It's a fan. Thanks for being a fan, by the way. Yeah.
It's Dan's mother.
Share the same name. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so weird. Must be a super fan, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the blueprint. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, and it's because Ben gets to have his mental force visions about his little Jedi love interest.
That's a good answer. It's as good an answer as any.
I mean, let's be honest. Who wouldn't dream of Daisy Ridley?
Oh, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, fair. Yes. I know. I'm terrible, Tom. I'm terrible. Where is our Emperor? Oh, our Emperor is not here because our Emperor doesn't do love. Because he's a real Sith. Star Wars.
He's a real
I can fix him.
Sith. No, nobody can fix Emperor. Nobody can fix our Emperor. And we like it that way. He's not getting fixed, guys. He will stay firmly in the dark.
No spoilers.
Spoilers.
I'm terrible.
Wouldn't that be surprising though?
Maybe he downloads Star
had
Wars
him on
Tinders.
here. He was on here with somebody else. He'd be like, "Wait."
And anytime there's any chemistry, he's just hating.
Emperor finds love. Yeah.
Love at any age.
Love at any age.
Right? There's somebody for everyone.
Especially one that's 5,000 years old, right?
But it's like love for himself. Wow. The love interest is himself. That could maybe count.
Well, I have a question for you guys. And I'll start with Maddie, and I'll go with everybody. But If you could trade your character in for anyone else's character here on this panel, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. I think playing like sad boys is so fun. I'm not gonna lie. So I would totally switch with Daniel just to get that like opposite perspective of being like, oh, I don't know. Is this right for me? Am I meant to? Yeah, like, but do I deserve this or whatever?
I'll never be good enough.
Oh, so you would want to be Ben Solo? Okay, I love that.
Where he's like, oh, but my father. Yeah, all that.
Do you have a weakness for sad boys?
I have an NDA agreement. I can't disclose that information. No, I think there is something very intriguing with I was totally the I can fix him girl when I was younger. I'm sorry, Kyle's like, what the heck?
We'll let you fix them, honey.
No, I don't. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I think not only that, but he's like a really cool character, interesting to play. And I think watching him, because I watched everything in the theaters, I was very interested to see where he would go. And I think initially, me watching it as a kid, I didn't expect him to go to the light side. I was kind of like, I was on the bandwagon of like, this dude's kind of irredeemable. But then one of my like most favorite moments for the like the last film, even though I had a bit of a rough time watching them, I won't lie. I really, really love seeing that moment where they like fought together and seeing him like go to the light side was so freaking exciting. It was like my I don't know, seeing my moment with Han and Leia. That was like my Han and Leia moment in the theaters, I guess.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely, 100%. I was like, yes, Ben Solo, go!
Watching it back when he like puts the little lightsaber.
Oh yeah, he brings it back out, right? And then he does the little Solo shrug.
And he's so cool. Yeah, that's what I was like. He becomes kind of like Han in that way, and you're like, oh my god, I want more of this, which is why I was so
sad at the end.
Anyone hasn't watched, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the sequels yet.
I mean,
him dying, I was
believe me, some people in the chat wish they hadn't seen the sequels.
I know. I wanted to see more of like Kylo Ren or Ben Solo. I wanted to see more Ben Solo on the light side because that was so interesting to me.
Yes, but that was one of those.
Someone should make a movie about that.
I know. Well, that's why I'm like, that would be the role that I'd be so interested in playing. Sorry, you guys continue. You guys go.
All right, Dan, how about you? Who from this cast would you trade your character
specifically for? These are members here on the panel or anybody?
Yeah, just these members.
Okay, I mean,
Norra, I know it.
Norra,
it's
actually,
hard to beat.
Norra's actually not a bad choice. Norra's very strong.
I was just playing.
Man, it's tough because I don't really feel like I could do anybody. I don't even feel like I can do Ben justice. So it's tough to try to get anyone else. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I love Cal, right? I love Cal Kestis. I'm sorry, Kyle. I'd yoink it, man.
Oh.
I just steal it. I just steal it from you. I just take out. I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to do it like you would do, but I'd steal it from you. Theft all the way, highway robbery.
That surprises me. That surprises me.
Really?
Yes.
Who'd you think I would say?
Darth Zanos. Also Kyle.
Oh, okay. Well,
but
yeah.
Yes,
no matter what, you're sorry, buddy.
The Darksider, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I would just end up doing a Maul impression the whole time. It'd be like, oh, come on, do something original. You know what I mean? So. I can't do a Cal impression, so it would be my own spin on that. No, I think that'd be fun. Other one, I mean, obviously Tony with Poe, he just brings this energy to it, and it's infectious. I think that would be fun. Yeah, I would love to echo what Maddie said with Rey, but like, I can't be British. I'm from
That's the hardest part.
Massachusetts. All right, I'm from Massachusetts. I could never be British.
I'm from Texas, man.
I couldn't allow that to happen.
You too?
That's true. I'm closer, but I mean, T goes straight into the harbor with that
I didn't know
one.
you were from Mass, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Minuteman through and through. So I'm committing sacrilege if I put on the accent.
Yeah, I fight it
All
every
right. And Tony, how about you?
I mean, she's technically not here, but we've talked about her. I think I would say Zorii.
Please.
Such a cool character.
Such a cool character.
All the different like Star Wars types, you know, between the droids and the Jedis and the Sith. I've always liked sort of the bounty hunters and the shooters and the underbelly people the most. I always like really respected or not respect, but like appreciated their like
their take
like
on the
toughness.
world, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, their toughness, their take on the world, their ability to, you know, use their hand-to-hand combat or their like rusty old rifle to, you know, survive in this world where it's just like technology is, you know, ridiculous, or there's people with the Force, you know.
I know, you got people throwing people against the walls and picking up ships. You're like, how do you do that?
Yeah, they're just ragtag and they get it done, and I've always really liked that.
Make things happen.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I mean, you know, we have like Star Wars Outlaws coming, the video game, where you get to be kind of a bounty hunter. Would that interest you at all? Are you big into gaming at all, Tony?
Me, yeah, I didn't even know that was coming out.
That's
there we go.
segue into Tony's. What is it? Your hand in gaming. There's some Diablo stuff going on with you. That's really cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Diablo
Yes.
4 and Diablo Immortal recently.
So freaking cool. Sorry. That just...
Yeah, no, and
wanted to kinda,
absolutely.
like-
I mean, I work for Blizzard, so totally know that. But didn't know that you specifically were in it. But I do. We talk about Diablo 4, and I'm a little peeved at Diablo 4 today, but that's okay.
Oh, the patch notes or what?
Dude, killing me with the patches. What?
You got nerfed.
We were like obliterated. It wasn't like even funny, to the point where actually Blizzard is like, okay, guys, we're gonna roll it back. Never mind.
At least they're listening, you know.
Yeah, which is great.
They're listening to the community.
All right, Donna, what about you? Which one of the characters from this panel would you switch with?
I wouldn't mind being the space age Heathcliff. So I was going to go with the Kylo Ren, Ben.
Yes.
Overall. I don't see him as a Sith, I see him as dark, and I don't mind that.
Yeah.
And I'm also quite tall, so there's that. If I will, give you a run for your money at 5'10".
Oh my gosh! So. Yeah, he's a tall dude.
Yeah, that's the misfortune of being in not on camera, and just you can't tell how tall I am. I think it's a great character, and I wouldn't mind being that. I was gonna say Wedge, but then I thought, you're being too cutesy. I'll be you, Wedge. I love you. No, I'd go dark and handsome and evil. Yeah.
He's actually quite pale. He's actually quite pale under that mask.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I was casted. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Typecasting? Look at me, I'm a ghost.
We just got
the lack of melanin.
You gotta come to the black side, baby. Get you your black hair. We got you.
It's
Ray. Yes.
Yeah, I'll get it. Method acting. I'll get it dyed.
It really comes out, right? Yeah, you keep barely telling me because I have all the lights on the back. But yeah, what about you, Wedge?
Me? Oh, geez. I guess just because of the complexity, Ben. Just as it's great character.
No, we all want to be you, great. Ben.
Well, we want to be that complex, hard to crack, figure out kind of character. That's the one who has the most depth.
Yeah, actors would want that, right? That's the role.
That's what it is. Not that I want to take the role from you.
Yes.
That's all. I do know.
Hey, rock, paper, scissors, man. Let's run it. Come on.
But who's not here? Darth Vitiate. I would love to be that.
Oh yeah. Who doesn't want to be Darth Vitiate?
I know.
Ross has so much fun, man. I can see
does.
it.
He gets
so much
all
fun.
the fun. He gets all the fun.
Yeah, he really does.
He really does. Really.
Yes.
But yes, but
he's like cornered the gravel of our cast.
He doesn't get the deep love affair, you know. So you guys got something up on him. And Kyle, last but not least, which one of the characters here would you want to switch over? Switch your character out.
I mean, I already touched on Poe, but I'm over it. I think that honestly, I just love where I'm at. Like, I want more. I want more action. I want I love playing a villain, and so just to get a chance, even though we're just kind of teasing him in episode 10, I love being Zanos, and I just can't wait to see where you go with him. Because you talked like he's going to show up in between, and there's going to be other stuff. Like I love the little tease, and my God, when I read that trailer, the script, the layout, everything, I was like, yes, this is what I want to see of Zanos.
Yes.
Just the seething power.
Bloody mess.
Oh my God.
Literally a bloody mess, right?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
I can't wait.
All right, well, you sold me.
I'll take mine back.
Changing my answer would be Darth Zanos.
Zanos.
Oh man, he's just gonna be a whirlwind. I can't wait.
That's amazing.
You got me there, Kings. You got me there, my bud. Well, thank you guys, everyone, for joining me today. We had so much fun. We went a little over, like we almost always do.
Always great to see you guys too.
Absolutely.
Yes. Not in episode 10, but in future. Yes. I've already teased that before, so that's why Kyle's here. So yes, but thank you guys, and
thank you.
One thing I'll leave everybody with, where can we find you? What are you guys up to? Tony, you can talk about Diablo 4. Let's start with Maddie. You're so cute. I love you so much.
I mean,
plugs.
Find me. Man, I don't want to like speak too much into existence, but you might see me in some anime maybe sometime soon.
Ooh, I love that. I love that for you.
Watch any Crunchyroll stuff. You never know, but that's also just kind of but as opposed to that, I mean, I've been doing I'm trying to do more theater in Dallas, so hopefully you'll see me on the stage again sometime soon.
Yeah.
And teaching. I love doing like theater and visual art teaching around in Dallas too. So yeah, mostly that stuff. And then I guess just, there's some podcasts that I always like hopping in on. I enjoy doing like some writing for this podcast that me and my friends have called University Radio, where it's just kind of like supernatural and it takes place at a school, but a radio show host, and that's been kind of fun. So finding ways to like collab with people maybe is like a huge thing. So it could be like anything. There might be like a commercial coming up, and then there might be like, you don't hear from me for a while.
And I think we have your socials here. So we have your Instagram. So follow Maddie on Instagram, and she has her website, MadeleineNorton.com. And Dan, what are you doing? What have you been up to, and where can we follow you?
Yeah, you can.
I love your TikTok antics. They're phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, you can find me at your local Verizon store, because that is mainly that's what I'm doing most often, as I try to get this stuff going on the side and everything. So really appreciative of this opportunity. I'm not a veteran like Maddie or Tony and everybody else here. I'm very very new to this, so
well, that's why you got your acting family to help you, right?
That's right, absolutely. So yeah, give me all of the work ever, all the time, and give me all of your money. People that are watching.
That's right.
Yeah, give it all to me. So thanks.
And we have his TikTok and his Instagram there on the chat. Thank you so much, Catherine. So it's Dan Likely. That seems to be your tag for everything.
Yeah. It's most likely.
It's most likely. Most likely it's Dan. And Tony, how about you? I know that, of course, you've done the Diablo 4 barbarian voice. And what else have you done there?
Yeah, so you can follow my Instagram. Has some of my
Catherine's on it. Catherine's
got some of my clips of things on there. In Diablo 4, I'm in Act 3. You kill me, which is great. And then in Diablo Immortal recently, there was a patch that came out. I think it was in March. I play Captain Norzo of part of a new dungeon that gets released. And a couple, commercials recently that came out. You may have heard me on, but you can follow me, see what happens next. And that's about it, I think.
Awesome. And Donna, how about you? Where can we find you and what have you been up to?
Well, I'm going back to some more studio work, so you can see my SoundCloud link there. I was a session vocalist in Nashville years back, going back to that. And kind of switching gears, I just wrote the outline to a documentary that I'm hoping to shoot in 2 months. So, I'll get behind the camera.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, we love that. And Charlie, how about you?
Okay, let's see. I'm working on part 2 of a film series I'm doing called Tales of the North. And I played this really lovable, kind of like stuck in the past sheriff, but you love the guy, but he's tough on crime and he gets the job done. So it's very reminiscent of Fargo, but it's not a Fargo ripoff. It's just reminiscent of. You will feel that way because it's all set in the winter and it's set in the North. Great stories, absolutely great. And I love playing this sheriff. He's just such a cool guy. So I got that going on. And if you want to see my work, go to my website, cwilsonvoiceover.com.
Awesome. Sounds great. Kyle, what about you?
These here as well. Thank you.
That's right. Instagram and Facebook.
I'm going to steal that. That was really cute. That was good.
Hit that subscribe. Bell button.
Kyle, what are you doing?
Thank you so much for watching.
Okay. This is my first big voice acting role. Like I said, that's actually gone to production. So I'm just kind of getting started. I'm also putting together a little sketch show. It's kind of improv heavy with a few of my buddies, and
that's awesome.
A let's play on top of that. So we're all kind of in motion with that now. I'm going to be linking it on these down here eventually. But we'll see. It should be out before the end of the year. I'll let you guys all know. Give me a follow at KBV Over on your Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. All right. So we're
Thanks, everybody.
With the end credits and, of course, Emperor Vitiate's theme.
Yes, good.